Well, in Europe, eastern Ukraine is a hotspot the new White House administration will have to deal with. A country Russia has traditionally seen as being firmly in the sphere of its influence. A shaky ceasefire between Ukrainian forces and Russian-backed separatists started on Monday. But international monitors have reported at least 200 violations overnight. CNN's international correspondent Matthew Chance is in Moscow. Matthew, it sounds like both sides have been using heavy weapons. Is there any indication that heavy weapons are being withdrawn?
It's a good question, and you're right to point that out, that the international monitors from the OSCE that have been giving us these regular reports on the number of ceasefire violations say that at least 100 of the violations over the period they last reported on were explosions, indicating that there was heavy weaponry being used, tanks and artillery pieces on both sides. It's a key point of the Minsk peace agreement, essentially, or the Minsk protocols as they're called, which were designed to bring to an end the fighting in eastern Ukraine, that heavy weaponry on both sides is withdrawn from the conflict zone by both the Ukrainian military and by the rebel forces, who are of course funded and armed to a large extent and supported at least by the Russians. That clearly hasn't happened. It's clearly one of the reasons why the upswing, I should say, in fighting that took place in the end of January had such a devastating effect on the civilian population, around 30 people killed since late January. And of course it remains one of the biggest threats to a further escalation of the conflict today, even though the situation appears to have returned to a kind of low-level conflict compared to where it was just a couple of weeks ago before the ceasefire was declared.
Matthew, what other pressure can the international community place on both sides to ensure that this ceasefire holds?
Well, it's very difficult. I mean, there is a diplomatic process that's been underway for a couple of years now. It's called the Normandy format process, in which the governments of Russia and Ukraine and France and Germany as well speak about and try and work out differences on the ground. There's going to be a meeting of those four nations shortly. We don't know when exactly. Also, other countries like the United States have, after some confusion, let's say, during the election campaign, have spelt out pretty clearly that they are standing by Ukraine, that they will keep their sanctions in place against Russia until such times as the Minsk Accords are fulfilled by the Russian side. And so, you know, that's the kind of pressure that's already been brought on Russia, for instance, the sanctions regime from both the United States and from the European Union. What the Ukrainians want to see is more pressure of that kind.
All right, Matthew Chance, good to have your analysis on all of that. We will talk to you very soon. Thank you. Well, live from the CNN Centre, this is Connect the World. Coming up, police in Malaysia are giving more information in the killing of Kim Jong-nam. We'll have the latest from Kuala Lumpur. And a British Muslim teacher is denied entry to the US after a court blocked President Trump's travel ban. He says he was treated like a criminal. My guest will join us after a short break.